Well, I came out here to start it a little bit ago because I wanted to pull it over there and do all this, which shop's over there. And I went to press the button, nothing happened, started. So, got to thinking, okay, this thing's never had a problem starting, why is it doing it now? Key's off, button's obviously not on because it's a push button. Not really much else that can kill this because the lights don't work and the hydroelectric's no good, so everything else on it, maybe it's the generator, so maybe something like that, maybe. But took a volt multimeter, probed the battery, 7 volts. What the heck? Push the button, you measure it out, it came out to be about 1.2. Battery's no good. So, pulled it out, threw it on the charger, and then I just got the harebrained idea, hey, why not take the sheet metal off and look what's underneath the rest of this thing? So, here we are. Which there's nothing really to go home about, but this is just the more exposed view of the tractor so far. Sheet metal's pretty damn straight. Took the belt pulley off. It's in pretty good shape. I'm probably going to end up digging into here and figuring out why it's not working, because somebody's not happy, and I don't know who. And the funny part is the wiring actually looks fine. It doesn't look that old. Well, so curiosity killed the cat, and in this instance, it killed the cat pretty damn good, because this is after wet sanding it with 400 grit sandpaper and emery cloth on a die grinder, air die grinder, just kind of going lightly over it, trying to knock off the rust and all that. And as you can tell, it got most of it, which you'd have to get with some finer grit to get down in there, but if you get too aggressive with it, though, it just pulls the paint off with it. So the paint, honestly, is too fragile to work with. I'm sure somebody that's got way more experience could probably try and save this, but truth be told, it's probably better just to paint this. Just bring it down to where it's flat like this instead of gritty like that, because that's what we started with, all that grit there. And just paint it up. You could save it if you wanted to. I could try some different methods. I got plenty of various to try it on, and I just might. But other than that, so far, we're not looking too good. Well, and I guess on a side note, too, this happened while I was sanding down on the side. I don't know if you guys can see that, but that belt is flexing. I think the compressor finally seized, which it's been rebuilt. Oh dear. Well, that looks like shit. Well, we're outside the shop here. Yet again, curiosity killed the cat on a weekend. And this wiring's good, but the inside of the pump ain't so good. That thing looks horrible. Like, I know there's going to be a little rust in there because she's 7 years almost, but that's bad. Like, ridiculously bad. Safe to say I need to pull that pump and just completely put a new housing on there with one that I know works, because that's done for. I should have taken the first sign as a hint here. I knocked the cover off for the first time for the dipstick, and what do you know, there's rust on it. That's not good. I'm sure I could rebuild it and recondition it. The fact of the matter is, it's probably not beneficial. But I need the Series 3, like this, hydroelectric pump, from handles down to pump. And I'm just going to basically take that and swap it on here, make sure it works. So most of the time when you buy one of these old tractors, or you just buy a tractor in general, it doesn't even have to be old. These old things will get to where they won't come up to temperature. It'll budge the gauge a little bit, but it won't come up to temp. You come and fill the engine block, you're getting warm. You come up here, go down to the bottom radiator hose, you're getting kind of warm, so. Radiator's doing good, no leaks. Basically, everything just looks good. Why is it not coming up to temp? Well, and in this case, is a good example of it, and my other Super is a good example of it. They have a thermostat in here, but it's basically a spring-loaded, temperature-controlled device which opens and closes via the temperature. And the spring is preset to open depending on the different temperature types, which most of these that come standard for these tractors, I think, is 185 degrees, give or take, 180, somewhere in there. It's right at the 180 degree mark, usually where most of them open on your average Joe tractor. All right, so I took this thing up the road, more or less get the cobwebs out. Got her pretty well blown out. The thermostat is indeed stuck open. And to confirm that, there's one Mr. Temp Gauge riding on the sea. All right, so obviously don't do it in the way I'm doing if you're gonna flush your system and do it in your grass. There's a bunch of rust and crap that came out of there. Well, and even then you can see it's not clear. So don't do it the way I'm doing it. But first things first, what I usually do, I crack open that and I crack open that and I just let this thing go. Which right now, I'm gonna click her back on and let her fill back up. Basically, it's just flushing any loose crap right now that can be flushed out. This one's not really doing anything. I might take him out and just see what's going on there. It might be pretty blocked up. So. All right, well, that's pretty straightforward. Pop your radiator hose off, pull him out. Pop your tree cap screws out, pull him off. This is your end result. What do you know? She is stuck wide open. You can see the passageway between the top of that thermostat and the housing is wide open for water to pass through. So there you go. And lucky me, the gasket came off of one too. This thing's actually, like I said, the more I dive into this thing, the better it gets, just how nice everything comes out. The bolts came out, no issues. The gasket came off in one piece, which for an all original radiator, yes. This is a Young radiator company made in April of 55. It says it right on the top there. But for an all original, this thing has been very well kept. And I mean very well kept. That never happens with half the stuff I work on. No, but anyways, pretty much all you do, pop this guy out, put your new thermostat in, put your gasket on, reassemble them together. I'm sure there's a torque spec on there, but I'm not gonna do it. As long as it's hand tight and it works well, good to go. Yes, pardon that, that's just keeping water out of there. See, that's why you always double check, pull out all your plugs, because that's what greeted me in there, so. Good thing I'm doing this. So I'm gonna pump some water in there and let it run out while I go get the parts from the house. And I popped the thermostat out of the housing on the vise. That was pretty easy, just one tap and she popped out. Yeah, put it back together. Snack break. All right, all plugs are back in. Radiator's full. Thermostat's all put back together, nice and tight, and we're gonna see if she works. I think I'm gonna go without the radiator flush because actually this system's not that dirty. I might do a couple cycles of well water, which yes, don't do well water. If you use water, use distilled water. All your impurities or most of your impurities will be gone compared to this crap. But this stuff's not staying in there. It's not gonna be running for very long. I'm just gonna bring it up to temp a couple times, flush it, put more in it. Just basically rinse and repeat. Other than that, this thing's good to go. All right, so the gauge on the left there says it's still cold. I disagree. It's still very much running about 150, 160, 170 in some places, 174. So I disagree severely. That neck's at 180, so it is doing its job right now. Which means I probably need to replace the gauge or the sending unit. First thing would be the sending unit, which I actually might have a spare sending unit on hand, but I'm probably not accurate. More than likely, it's probably going to be that gauge just because of how old the gauge is. It is the original gauge in that thing. Pretty much, there's actually not a single thing on here that's aftermarket unless inside the engine. Yep. Overflow tube. All right, so with the thermostat fixed, I thought I'd dig in here a little deeper. Pull the nose cone off and see if I couldn't bend this guy back out or at least make him look a little better. Just to say that it's maybe a minor dent versus a shed falling on it or something like that. We're going to put her back in. And then I'm going to buy all the nose pieces brand new. So both side tins, like the side curtains here on the side that are yellow, I'm going to get them brand new, paint them. I'm going to get the center strip there because it's all sorts of boogered up. That center strip on that has to be straightened out. And then this guy, I got to figure out how to get him remounted. Either I'm going to get a new piece and paint that green and put it on there, which is going to stand out like a sore thumb then. Actually, that's probably what I'm going to have to do because it's not very straight. It probably could be fixed, but it's a little more bent than I would like, and I am not a sheet metal worker, so I'm not very good at that. Well, I may or may not done a thing. Although here lately it hasn't really been much. It's just been taking apart stuff and putting it back together. I got the nice crease out of there, so at least if you look at it like this, you can't really tell except for this little indent there where a nail hit it. So the nose cone's pretty well straight. This guy's, I might have to take it back off and I can really straighten it out, because this piece of sheet metal right here is kind of bowed out doing one of them numbers, and then the rest of it followed. But it looks, I'll tell you right now, it looks about 10 times better than it did before. This side definitely needs a lot more loving, but it still looks a lot better than it did. This is gonna have to come off again because I got to put the centerpiece back on anyways, and you got to take this entire assembly back off to get to it. So don't worry, that's gonna get massaged a little more than what it is. That's probably not gonna be shown on camera, but that's gonna get done because obviously everything needs to fit up here. This piece is getting replaced. Yeah, it's just so buckled and bent that it would just look so ugly to even sit up there. So it's gonna get painted green once I get the piece. Swap the medallion, we're done there. That other fender's off. I'm playing around with it, maybe seeing if I can get it to look half decent, and it's already looking 10 times better, but the contour in the back's about 5-10 degrees steeper than what it should be on the front. So I think this back bracing here got bent in, and that middle one kind of creased a little bit. So I'm not really sure how this is going to get fixed. It might not. I might have to go get a different fender just because of how stressed it is on all the ribbing and all that. Yeah, so about after 20 more minutes or so, it looks decent from here, but the curve's a little too steep yet, and I think at this point I'd have to use a piece of wood to flatten it back out, and it's just got a bunch of dents and whatever else from however many times I've tried to easily tap it with a hammer, because it's kind of a give or take game. You gotta figure out how hard to hit, and there's a couple times I surpassed that, so it's pretty easy to tell I tried to bend it back. So we're just not going to even use that one. I'm going to go try to find a original paint, or at least a repaint that looks kind of faded like this, and move all the stuff over from that one onto this one. No, that one. Just an example. And we're going to put a left fender on here. We're going to put all the sheet metal back on. Of course, that's going to be after we take care of the hydraulic pump and the governor. Those are my two big things right about now. That one should be fairly simple. I'm going to get one off eBay and just swap it off. Cross my fingers that fixes it, because if not, I got to just tear it all apart and make a good one out of two of them. And then same goes for that one. And then I'm going to pull this guy out, swap the entire housing and pump. And whether it's got a hydroelectric or not, I don't know. If it doesn't, cool. Just means I got parts for the Super. If it does, well, I can make 2 out of 1 that are good. And voila, we got a nice running tractor. And of course, I did order a laundry list of parts from Corvus, just odds and ends, like a steering wheel and a muffler and a rain cap. Sheet metal is going to be my next round whenever I get my next paycheck. So fins, top, PTO shield, stuff like that. Until next time, I'll catch you guys on the next one.